Welcome in, Shield Brothers and Shield Maidens, to Shield's Rest. I'm Frey.
And I'm true.
And I'm Brown.
What if you could pilot your own giant mech, customize it to your heart's content, and fight for the future of humanity? Well, you can join us as we explore the creation, core themes, and why players love the Mecha TTRPG Lancer. Mount up.
All right, now if you guys are new to the channel, consider subscribing. We have so much that we're covering, not just Lancer. Obviously, we're adding it to our channel here, but we talk about Daggerheart. We get into DC20, so I'm just saying, we got a lot going on, and we post 2 videos every single week, so just saying, consider it. But Fry, I hear this had a crazy Kickstarter. What happened with that? Like, what all went into that, man?
Yeah, so Kickstarter launched in 2018, and it ran for, I think, 32-ish days, and it blasted past like 300,000, like well over. Um, Core rulebook landed a year later, and it also has a free version for players as well, so you don't even have to commit money to the system to learn about it from the player side. And outside of that, the community is phenomenal. It has several like expansions, storylines, all that. The digital tool, which we'll get into, is amazing. It's the best kind of digital tool that I've seen for like character creation, all that. And yeah, it was very impressive how they came up in the Kickstarter alone in such a short time, had all this stuff made for it.
Yeah, I think I'd like to I'll throw a plug in there too. The creators, Miguel Lopez and Tom Parkinson Morgan, the latter also has a webcomic series called Kill 6 Billion Demons. Uh, just like it sounds, right? Wild ride through multiversal demons, gods, martial arts, all you can think of. Similar art style that's adapted, Lancer adapted. So definitely go check that out if you're interested in Lancer and find you might be more interested in other things that the creators do as well.
Well, it seems like it's inspired by like the political intrigue of Dune and getting into like that tactical customization of Gundam while also giving you that kind of combat feel of D&D 4E. That's kind of how Lancer feels, at least to me, when I've been going through this rulebook. So
Yeah, it's nice, like mix and blend of a bunch of different things, different, your pop culture, if you could call Dune's pretty pop culture now.
oh yeah.
Anime, the older D&D, that 4E, it's yeah, you're getting influence from all over the place with this one, and it's really cool to see that blend of everything.
Oh, I would say too that the art you see on the screen right now is the cover for the just traditional Lancer book, but I'm a little extra as always, so I did buy the alternate art directly from uh, the team over at Mastiff. So kind of hard to see in my little camera, but definitely pretty cool art on both ends. So definitely recommend you go and purchase a copy or look at the free copies that you can find. But definitely excited to learn more about this system. So have not looked at the game mechanics or anything much in general. So Fry, help me out.
Oh yeah, well, we'll definitely be covering also all of the mechanics over the next few weeks as we dive up into the system. But um, to start to get those people kind of interested in it, and like what is Lancer kind of all about without even playing it or reading the rules. We kind of want to talk about the themes, right? So in Lancer, what you're kind of looking at is like this is humanity's struggle in like a post scarcity galaxy, right? Like this is, I think with the math, it's roughly like 15,000 years in the future, like from now, where like kind of humanity itself has like fallen once or twice. We're on like the third kind of iteration of like humanity trying to like make their way through. So that's the kind of setting you're in. So it's tensions between like these utopian ideals. That's what unions kind of do, and they're trying to like bring everyone back together. But in reality, they can't be everywhere at once. You have these dystopian themes as well, and then what it means to be a lancer, right? Some people view you as like a tool for war or symbols of power, like where you as the player kind of fit into all that as this like pilot above the rest, right? Um,
I'm okay with that. I think a tool for war sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll take that.
yeah,
Well, and it sounds kind of like gritty and very much so like that futuristic kind of grit realism almost going on here. Not like Gundam where it was a little too, hopeful, a little too anime-ish. It didn't feel as realistic as kind of what this feels like, especially after you've been through so much in 15,000 years. So yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, for sure. Like it's definitely more, I think, a realistic take on it. The one thing I do like about it is like I've read into, obviously, more into the lore side, and I've like read kind of interviews with the creators and all that. The one thing I appreciate is they do, the advice they have like for the players and the GMs in particular is like to make sure can be lighthearted, right? Like it's not just like you're in here and everything's just like gone all to hell, and like yeah, there's going to be pockets of um like very serious tones and like like I said, those dystopian things, but at the end of the day they're like the galaxy is hopeful. Union, depending on where you are, they mean well in the end. And so I like that kind of spin on it, where it's realistic in the fact that it's not just like, oh, here's the big bad guy and your target. Is very like kind of nuanced and political in that aspect too. So um I just really like the tone of the setting as I've like kind of dove into the lore.
Question from
I
me on the
love that.
gameplay, because I've seen some mixed things. I've
Mhm.
seen because I'm trying to follow the Reddits and the Discords and everything as a new player, trying to learn and everywhere I can. But I've seen some people talk about like the combat versus narrative play. It sounds like it's somewhat heavier in narrative play, like that's the main focus. But the battles are like it's not your quick little 10-15 minute D&D type battle. It's like I'm thinking like old school Monopoly back in the day where you had to save the board state and like come back the next day to your friend's house to keep playing. Is it like that
Oh
from what
yeah.
you've seen?
Yeah, so you kind of like have like two styles of or two modes of play. It's almost kind of like having two little games in one. So you have your narrative side. That's where you're your pilot. So yeah, your pilot has guns, your pilot has equipment, but 99% of the time, your pilot is for role playing, interacting with the story, exploring all that side of it. So you're doing skill checks and all that. Then you swap to the combat side, and that's your mech. That's where you have all your customization, all the things you've attached to your mech, your big weapons, your big guns, and those. Yeah, you could have a combat from what I've seen last 2 to 3 hours. It could be its own session, and I think if I was running it, depending on the time, it almost would be, hey, combat's next, and we've only got like an hour left of the session. We're probably going to either start it next time or we'll get set up and then begin round one next time. So, um, which I like that. I like a nice, heavy, tactical combat. Not all the times, but in the aspect of this, it looks really fun and engaging.
That's one of the exciting parts about Lancer for me is like what you've just described. Like your mech is literally like, all right, lock it in, mount up. It's time to
Yeah.
go and do some business, right? Like you're having fun and do narrative play and role play, but when you put that suit on or get in that mech, it's like a whole nother game in itself. And I think that's like two worlds in one is really enticing to me. And that's part of the
Very
attraction, I would
enticing.
imagine, right?
Yeah.
For sure, for
You know,
sure.
I would say probably the attraction for me anyway is the fact that you can kind of like how Mark and I had talked about our inspirations for our mechs. It's like really picking that almost role where you're acting as a sniper, where you're acting as like the guy in the back or the dude that's in the middle trying to do shield and a little bit of mid range sort of situations, and then that melee aspect. I think that attraction comes into the customization that you have with these mechs. I'm assuming you can do those things, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, for sure. So when the customization is really crazy. So basically, as you level up, you'll access more and more things, and they're called licenses. So every time you have four companies, we'll get into those heavier later, but to make it short and sweet, as you purchase licenses with a company, you get more mechs and more options within those mechs. And you'll always have your core mech, but even if you swap to another company, like you can pull parts from all four of them, and they all are compatible within the lore, right? So you can not no mech is the same, right? Unless you find a forum somewhere that shows you how to like min max the mechs. I haven't really seen too much of it because you really can build exactly what you want. You can be a controlling sniper, or you can be a hacking artillerist, or you could be a like anything you can imagine. The customization is insane. Like it really is a build your own adventure mech.
So you're telling me I can build my Tau dream of being in the XV-88 with a railgun and a couple of drones and maybe a missile launcher on the back? Is that what you're
Yes.
telling me? Love that.
Yes.
When I was watching your short and y'all were describing the two, like I obviously don't know every mech like the back of my hand yet, but as you were describing your two, I was like, yeah, I know exactly. I know where I'm going to steer y'all when we get to that part because uh, they're all so different and unique that like as you were describing, I'm like, yep, it's that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think I was gonna say too, like one of the best parts, I think, the attraction wise, right? Not only the mech and being able to customize that and doing all these flexible things and making it your own, is the lore of the game. And I talked about this, I think, in our recent live video. But one thing I'm seeing about Lancer in the community is, first of all, the community seems really large, and it seems like people are super involved in it, which is awesome. Because outside looking in initially, it's like there's a lot of politics and a lot of different agencies and entities and things, right? And go check out our promotional video and stuff, and you'll kind of get a vibe of like what the setting is. But that's the part that's exciting for me, because if you can understand union and the trade baronies and all that stuff, then the role play is just, the amount of role play you can do is just crazy, as long as you understand the world itself, right? The setting.
Absolutely, and like that's like kind of the fun part too from the GM side is when you're looking at like the universe is literally your oyster, right? Like it's a galaxy expanding game, so you you can literally like I want to actually play this, and I don't even want Union to be involved. Like you can just mention, hey, Union's here, but we're actually like a billion light years away on this random planet that hasn't seen any form of that big government, right? Or you can be like right dab smack in the middle of it. So you literally have like the entire like array of things you can play in this, and it's super customizable. You can sit down with your players and like make your own planet, right? And then like this is what we're gonna play on for the first few levels, and that's the lore, and that is crazy.
Well, and that, I mean, just from the combat side, it sounds super tactical in that aspect, but my biggest wonder, especially because I've only done a cursory glance through these rules, how easy really is it to get into these rules? Is it because it feels super complex from the tactical side, but I obviously I don't know, but from your experience as far as going through and reading this, especially gearing up to be the GM for this, how easy is it really to get into?
So getting into, honestly, I think it seems a lot when you're first looking at it, but when you like break it down kind of chapter by chapter, it's super easy to learn, right? The dice you're using either a d20 or d6s, and that's it, right? So you don't even have to worry about like the d12, d10, all that stuff. Just got two different dice to use, um, and you can obviously, like I said, have all that customization with the mechs. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to even do that, you can build your mech straight and then just pick another one within the same company and just be like, that looks cool. Let me build that and just have the option. Like easy to pick up, I think a lot easier than it looks when you're just grabbing it. But then on the flip side, it's like almost like a high ceiling, right? Like you can get super into the weeds with like, I want to specialize in making anti-gravity zones where I control their bodies into walking into it and then like flying off. Like you can like you want to be like one thing, you can absolutely like narrow down to that one thing and be the best at it. Um,
Nice.
and like I was saying earlier, they have the app. It's called CompCon. That's COMP/CON. It's
Mm.
an app. You will have to have like stuff loaded kind of up into it, but the app itself is free. The material is just what you pay for, but you get it when you buy the books. Um, and I've gone through it like two or three times trying to like see what I can do, and I've never been like lost in the character creation, both the pilot and the mech. So like shout out to
Awesome.
that. When we play, I'm going to make y'all use it, and you're going to want to because it's such a good app.
I think for
Good,
me,
I'm
outside
glad.
looking in, some of the language that's used in there, and again, very briefly, like skim some pages of combat and things like that. Some of the language is, what you'd expect from a mech type RPG. But I think one of the big things for me with tabletop role playing games, as I've been exposed to other systems, is like understanding the verbiage and the lingo for that system, right? So if you're totally foreign to this type of mech or sci-fi type thing, some of the words might be like confusing at first. And so you're starting to interpret things while also trying to understand them. But again, that leads us into community and support, which I said was huge, and it is. Frey, I'm sure you can talk way more than me on that one.
Yeah, so I've been trying to get more active in it, but I've been reading all through the Discord. So there's a Lancer Discord. Probably post that link to that in the description of this video. But anything and everything you need, as far as help, advice, tips and tricks, information, where do I find XYZ, what should I do, is going to be on that Discord. There are dozens, if not like 100 channels on there for like everything you need.
There's a lot.
There's homebrew content, that third party content. There's like channels specifically for players, but one specifically for GMs. You can find Lancer games in there. So there's like a looking for group ones in there, and then there's like I said, dozens of channels where you can like play there as well. So if anything, you hop on that Discord and just start reading through. They have so much. Like I haven't even scratched the surface. I think of like what all information, like what you can accomplish in that Discord as far as like the community is concerned. They're a very helpful community too. Like I said, I haven't dived too much into it as far as being active in it, but I'm like reading through. People are quick to respond. They're super helpful, and it's just such a crazy community to like see and just be a part of. Like how together they are.
Nice.
Yeah. I'd say too, if you don't want to use all that, I mean, lean on us. We're not going to know right away, but ask us the questions because we'll go to the Discord and we'll find out.
Yeah.
We're trying to get connected with the community, right? So you'll help us learn as well. So, and we love to see you engage with us. So ask us your questions. We will get you an answer eventually.
Yep. I will. I have no problem going in there and asking possibly a foolish question. I do not care. What we're going to explore in this kind of series is the why, right? Why play Lancer? Why get into it? Why leave your comfort game? Probably D&D for most, maybe Daggerheart, maybe DC-20. Why jump into this? I think the biggest appeal for me is I like the tactical side. Like I'm a numbers guy. I like figuring that part out. And like what's the most optimal way to move on the battlefield? Where should I be? What weapon should I be doing? Should I do XYZ, right? I think for those tactical players like me, you're going to love the mech combat side of it. I'll let the guys here think like what has attracted y'all to the system for yourselves.
It's the vibes for sure for me anyway. When I can feel like I'm in a Gundam situation, when I can feel like I'm a part of that suit kind of idea, and that's exactly what you kind of get when you start in on this. For me, it's all about the vibes. As long as it feels the right way, like for this being Lancer, like I want it to feel like I'm in a mech. I want to feel like I'm in that heavy combat hit that hits hard, you know? So that's what really attracts me in that customization feature, like being able to bring in multiple different ways of going about your build is probably the other big part for me. So
I'd say for me, all the things you just said, but also, I mean, just look at the picture on the screen, right? Like words used in this setting, like liberation. That's exciting to me. And the way that picture looks, it just looks like we're about to go do some real stuff and be a part of something cool. The art is awesome. The idea of mechs is awesome. Ever since I was a kid, I loved that kind of stuff. I mean, like Power Rangers, come on, like stuff like that. Zords, all those things you can get into, Gundam, etc. The other thing too for me, sci-fi has not been a big thing for me. Like I've never, not that I'm not interested in sci-fi, but usually if it's sci-fi, I'm like, I'll put that to the bottom of the barrel. But I think all those elements tied into this, and also, and it's like a sci-fi type vibe. Maybe this is a way for me to get into sci-fi a little bit more and enjoy the sci-fi that I can relate to. So I'm excited for myself personally to like really kind of embrace that sci-fi element of it as well. And if you can't tell, you get to look really cool while we play.
Exactly.
Or stupid, whatever you think I look like.
I think that leads it to like another fun part is like for the role players out there, like the narrative side of the fact that there's like a whole basically narrative game in there. Like there's a whole side of the game that's just for role playing, and if that's your thing that you're into too, like yeah, the mech combat is great, but like, no, I want to be a pilot. Like, I want to be the space Top Gun. Like, there's that space for you. And the as we go into it in later videos, like the background options, the triggers that they call, the talents, all that stuff. Like, you can, like, every mech is different, every pilot is different as well, and um, there's something for everybody in this game. So try it out. That's the best advice I give. Grab the free version, read through it, get that inspiration, hop on that Discord, hop in our comments. Um, Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to cover, what you're interested in, what's bringing you into the game as well. Um, with that, if there's anything else y'all want to add to it,
Shoot, you know what I'm curious about? What our next video is going to be like. What are we going to be covering next? Because I'm just saying, I want to know. Are we getting into the essentials? What are we doing?
I think next up, we're gonna jump into the mechanics, right? So we'll knock out the easy stuff. What are the different roles? What do I need to like sit down and play the game, right? These are the different checks, and then as we get past that, we'll go into building your pilots, and then building your mechs, and then once we get those simple things out of the way, we'll probably start diving into the companies. But that's later on down the line. Next up, it's going to be the mechanics, the dice rolls, the saves, the checks, all that fun stuff. And that's Lancer in a nutshell, right? That's where it is, where it's been, where it's going. And I'm excited to dive into that with you guys here and with the community out there as well. So until next time, keep that shield wall strong.